was that?
Okay.
Welcome, Time Lord twins, sentient puddles, and lots of references to the 21st episode of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 5th of July, 2017, and featuring the season finale of Doctor Who, The Doctor Falls, written by Stephen Moffat and starring Peter Capaldi as the Doctor, and potentially / probably bidding farewell to Pearl Mackie as Bill Potts, Matt Lucas as Nardole, and definitely bidding farewell to Michelle Gomez as Missy, also including John Sims as the Master, and saying hello to David Bradley as the third version of the first incarnation of the Doctor. Man, that was a mouthful.
Yeah, well, it was a star-studded lineup.
I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell, Randy Ronson McCulloch,
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke,
The grind!
Tim the Enchanter Sheridan,
Oh, yeah!
and Thomas Fireheart.
Hey, guys.
Remember that because I always say your names in that order. So if I change your name for a day, it shouldn't destroy the podcast.
No, it's going to destroy the podcast. Nobody's going to pay attention, and they'll lose track of where we're at.
So it's over. The big series finale's over, which means we have to look forward to about 6 months of nothing. I mean, yes, Rick and Morty's starting at the end of the month, and in 2 months' time, we'll start seeing our fall lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Which reminds me, I haven't finished the last year's lineup from the CW.
I assume there will be a special non-fiction episode of Doctor Who where they announce the next Doctor at some point within those 5.5 months.
Unless they just do it as the general press release.
True.
It really depends on how it goes. I mean, Tenet was announced via press release.
Gotcha.
Matt Smith was announced as part of at one of the specials, but they had specials going all the time.
Yeah.
On the way up to it, and Capaldi was introduced in a special, but that was also part of the 50th anniversary season.
It was also a simulcast throughout the UK, United States, and I believe a couple other countries.
But right now, there's really nothing special going on for Doctor Who that they could be celebrating, so it probably is just going to be a press release.
We'll see.
Unless they have him walk on to, like, morning breakfast or something. Blue Peter, the Graham Norton show, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Something that'll get a lot of attention, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully it happens within the next month and a half, because I'd like to have something to talk about.
Yeah, well, either that or they're going to either that or they still haven't actually cast it, and they're going to film those scenes like 2 weeks prior to the Christmas special and then rush them through post.
Okay,
you never
like
know.
Go with it. Take him to the set. Get him done.
which Moffat has recently confirmed is definitely what they're doing during the season.
You never know. I mean, the fact is that this is one of the reasons I really wish Capaldi had stayed on, is because there's such a huge handover right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this, by the way, is not news. This is just speculation on my part, based on a few stray lines I've heard of people. I think it's possible they might even be moving Doctor Who production out of Wales.
Well, it's because we do know that the BBC is devoting a large chunk of money to more children's programming, and which may actually trickle down to Doctor Who and some other shows and stuff too. They're looking to revamp their programming and make it like more accessible, put a few more things online, like games and apps and stuff like that, and some blogs and TV shows and web series.
Well, yeah,
So-
but we know the fact that when it started, Doctor Who was basically handed to BBC Wales, and it was said, "Run with it."
Mhm.
And that was back in 2005. But that was 2 production teams ago. And from what I hear, many of the production team members that have been on since 2005 don't think they're coming back. Which sounds to me like it's going to be a completely new production,
Yeah.
which might mean that it's being moved to London or, one of the other major film locations in the UK.
Somewhere closer to home where they can keep an eye on it. Yeah.
This is the BBC's most valuable asset.
Mhm.
Even if it's not getting ratings domestically, and it hasn't been, it is still the highest thing that they ship overseas. It's making the BBC the most money through international sales because they sell it to every other fucking country in the world except for Japan.
Which I still don't know why they haven't caught up on that.
They've tried. They translated, it was series 2, I think. But the Japanese didn't know what to make of it.
That's saying something.
They didn't know if it was supposed to be children's programming or adult programming. They didn't know where to block it.
Family.
There's no real definition for that in Japanese television programming.
Well, they need to learn the in-between.
Because it's very demographic driven.
Yeah, well, maybe a little too much so. I think they need a... Again, they need to be a little more flexible with that.
So shows are either dedicated towards adults, older teens, younger teens, preteens, and little kids. That's pretty much. And I think they also tend to have a male-female focus on those shows as well.
This is a very broad demographic, and they're just like, I don't know.
Yeah. We don't know where to put it. That was their problem. So
Well, they could just put somewhere, anywhere.
They did. They slotted it at about 2 a.m.
That's terrible.
I remember because I used to watch YouTube clips of like Rise of the Cybermen: Age of Steel that was in the Japanese version of the broadcast. It used to make me twitch because the guy that they had that did the voice dub for David Tennant, I knew the voice actor because he was alumni from Ranma One Half, and he played the character Moose there. And I'm just like, seriously? I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been Kuno, but
In case anyone is wondering why we're letting Randy ramble, it's because we have very little news tonight.
yes, it is. I am keeping an eye on the time, and I will start the news shortly. The thing
I was
is
just waiting for a paragraph to end.
the Japanese cyber voices were very reminiscent of 80s Cybermen when they did the Japanese translation. And I liked that, of course, because I'm quite fond of the 80s Cybermen myself. I really want them to either get David Banks to do an episode of Doctor Who or a Big Finish or something, just so that we get more David Banks hamminess. But
There is something to be said of the fact that I feel there's not enough David Banks going around.
excellent, yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, so since you bitched at me, let's start the news.
I just want to know for the audience, in case they're wondering why we're rambling on like this.
Yeah, so up and coming tonight, we've got the news, and like we said, there's not a lot of it. There's a bunch of episode news, and then absolutely nothing else. Then, of course, we'll take a few minutes to talk about anything new or that we've experienced in the last week, and move on to our 5-minute challenge and the review of The Doctor Falls, which will be at about an hour into the podcast, give or take a few minutes.
Vexy's in the chat and he says lol.
So now the news. We have a couple of birthdays, just a couple, and they're all old school, really old school.
First Doctor school, in fact.
Yes. The first one is on the 29th of June. It was Maureen O'Brien, who played the companion Vicky. She's turned 74. Marina's retired from acting proper, so she's really only heard from in Big Finish First Doctor Adventures audios. She does no other real acting. And I looked, there's absolutely no credits for her anywhere. So keep doing the Big Finish, and happy birthday, Maureen. Next, on the 1st of July, we had the birthday of Jean Marsh, who you might remember as being the ill-fated Sarah Kingdom from the Daleks' Master Plan. She turned 83. She is semi-retired after having a minor stroke in 2011, and we haven't really seen anything of her recently. If she's acting, it's on stage, and I have no way to notice stage performances unless somebody puts it on Wikipedia. So, happy birthday, Jean. Those are our birthdays. There are no deaths. Nobody in the Doctor Who business would have the tenacity to die on series finale week.
How dare you?
Even the minor actors are just like, gotta last one more week.
Speaking of the series finale, the overnight viewing figures are in for the Doctor Falls. We've got 3.75 million viewers, 25.3% of the total TV audience. Let me see here. It's the... Okay, so Casualty, low ratings for Casualty, 4.05 million. Pointless Celebrities was at 3.26 million viewers, and that even aired before Doctor Who. Pitch Battle, which aired afterward, was 1.85 million.
They did mention it was a very beautiful Saturday in the UK.
Yeah.
So everybody was outside.
And then came back for Doctor Who, apparently. Just about.
Yeah, that's actually up from previous figures.
All right, and one note to have is BBC One HD in Scotland had audio problems for the final 5 minutes of the episode. You can see it in its complete form on iPlayer.
Oh, we're sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on, we've got the Doctor's Falls reaction. Oh, excuse me. I was up at like 4 a.m. this morning and took like a 1 hour nap. So.
It's
All right.
okay.
Yeah, I think after the podcast tonight, I think it's bedtime for this whole household.
Yeah. All right. So Digital Spy felt that the episode was a heartbreaking spectacular, and they thought Pierre Capaldi deserved quite a lot of praise for it. The Mirror felt the episode was an immensely satisfying conclusion with great storytelling and epic performances. Radio Times also singled out the performances as one of the strong points about the episode.
Yeah, they apparently liked John Sim and Gomez really well.
The Guardian thought that the Doctor meeting the two Masters finally was fantastic. Was the highlight, the biggest
about
highlight.
Damn time, really.
The Telegraph also enjoyed the role of the two Masters in the story. IGN also enjoyed the dynamic between the two Masters. Den of Geek paid tribute to Capaldi's performance. AV Club called it pitch perfect finale, I should say. Vulture also paid tribute to the lead actor. Slightly bucking the trend was Ars Techna. Felt it was a little cramped for an episode, and Flickering Myth thought it was a fitting end to the series.
How cramped is an hour for a 40-minute episode?
An hour and a half, actually.
No, it was
Wasn't it?
61
Well,
minutes
commercial,
runtime.
sorry.
Yeah, 61
okay.
minutes with that ads. So this is the third week running that the Mirror hasn't been confused by the episode.
We're keeping a count on that now. The Mirror's not confused by an episode. That's 2 in a row.
I need to go back and see who's reporting for the Mirror for these.
See if it changes.
This one's done by a guy by the name of Daniel Jackson. But I want to go back to like the first couple episodes where they're just all confused and want to see if it's the same guy, or if they're just like, "You're done now because you can't understand crap."
Do you know English?
English, motherfucker. Do you speak it?
All right.
I'm glad someone thought
So-
of that.
Moving on, we have the Australian overnight ratings for the Dr. Falls and the final ratings for Eaters of Light. All right, the Dr. Falls was in Australia, averaged about 461,000 viewers in the 5 major capital series. It was the highest rated drama of the ABC of the day and the 11th highest rating program of the day overall. These ratings do not include iView, regional, or time-shifted viewers. Also, including time-shifted viewers, we have the Eaters of Light average 463,000 consolidated viewers in the 5 major capital C's with 73,000 extra viewers. It was the 3rd highest time-shifted program of the day.
Okay, I'd like to point out something about that.
Mm-hmm.
The Dr. Falls raw numbers are almost as high as the consolidated ones for Eaters of Light.
Oh, yeah.
So that's going to be interesting when we start seeing the consolidated.
Oh yeah,
for...
in 2 weeks we should have the
Yeah.
season final numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm. I'm sorry, we were all just going,
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Mashed
Yeah,
potatoes.
That's too... All right.
Biscuits. Mm-hmm.
All right, we've got the Audience Appreciation Index, or the AI score for the Dr. Falls is 83.
Which is, of course, down a couple points from
Mhm.
last week's, which was 85.
But
Does
higher
that
than
mean
the
that
season average.
Does that mean it averages out to an 84?
All right,
It's
the
got to be
highest
between
one,
84
by the
and
way.
83.
By the way, Casualty won over audiences with an 85.
Of course.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Peh.
All right, next we have an article on the BBC Doctor Who page, Stephen Moffat's tribute to Russell T Davies and Doctor Who Series 10 finale. I did not read through this, so let me
Do you want me to basically give a brief description since it's basically a
Sure.
footnote? So,
Yeah.
what Moffat says is that 57 is Russell's essential favorite number. Whenever he needs to come up with a big number on the spot, Russell always chooses 57. There may be a list of them in the article. So he gave the floor number 507 as a reference to that, as kind of a tribute to 57.
Yeah, that's really all the article says.
Yeah.
Really?
I
I thought
was-
Russell would have gone 42.
Nope, apparently not. Apparently he likes
42 is too
plus
obvious.
15. Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone who goes with 42, it's obvious they're referencing Adams. So I imagine someone who's writing professionally would try to avoid it for just that reason.
Unless
Except
of course
for maybe
you're
special
unless of
occasions.
course you're deliberately referencing Adams, like
Exactly.
something that's supposed to go out on Doug's birthday or something.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway.
Well, and mind you, there was an episode called 42, but that actually represented the average length of a Doctor Who episode.
at the time.
Which, by the way, might actually be the ultimate question. We don't know.
Okay. And then next we've got Stephen Moffat trying to explain Pierre Capaldi's how he's fighting his regeneration in the upcoming story, or at the end of this story, and probably through the upcoming Christmas special, I would say, and why he's horrified of it. It's basically the reason why the Doctor doesn't want to regenerate, because although it extends your life, it also destroys parts of you, and that the change is too radical. He says he can't. The Doctor says that he can't keep on being somebody else. So he's
You know,
just. Mhm.
Yeah, I honestly don't I am having a hard time buying this.
He's going through 10th Doctor syndrome essentially.
Yeah.
Well,
that
if
but
you
it's the
see-
same.
That wasn't how I read it when I watched the episode. I actually thought he was.
Yeah, Randy had actually convinced me of a better reading of it, and I'm like, okay, I'll watch for that when I rewatch it. And then this article came out with Moffat quotes, and I'm like,
God damn it, Moffat!
Well,
Yeah.
if you listen to the end of the episode, Capaldi even says, "I want to stay," as he collapses against the back of the console,
Yeah, but then
which
again,
is one of Tennant's final.
but then
words.
again, he's also there. No, actually, his is "I don't want to go."
Yeah.
So
Yeah, or no, that's
Yeah.
what he says. I don't
well,
want to go.
well,
He
he
says
does,
the same
he
thing.
does, but he says that while he's also quoting Matt Smith, Tom Baker.
yeah.
There might have been another quote in there.
Oh, I know it was
Hmm.
Tom Baker's first quote.
Yeah,
Sontarans
Tom
perverting
Baker's
the
first
course of
quote.
history.
Matt Smith's last half sentence.
Yes.
There
Mm.
might
When
have
the
been.
doctor was me.
There
Actually,
may or may not have been another that I don't remember, but
So that "I don't want to go" was just him reliving his beginnings
Yeah.
and endings.
I wish he
Yeah.
said wearing a bit thin, because that would have been appropriate and it would have referenced two past generations.
Mm.
I would have loved it if he'd said shoes.
Yeah, the thing about
Or carrot juice.
that was like, if Capaldi had been the Doctor longer, that line, like the whole "I don't want to change, I want to stay," kind of would have made more sense, because that does seem more like something. Because I guess Tennant technically did have that, because he was like, "Oh no, you don't," and
No,
did the
my
sort of
my
fake
take,
out regen.
my take on it was that he had had enough, and he was willing to just die this time.
That's what I was
Right.
kind of thinking too. And now this
which
just kinda
would have fit
slaps
with
in
that
the
whole
face.
self-sacrifice thing.
Yeah, he was
Mm.
ready to sacrifice himself. He had already had a bonus life, so he's like, I think that's enough. I can't deal with this shit anymore.
And of
It's
course,
time
people on
for me to
Facebook are
die.
like, "Well, he was expecting to regenerate into the Valued, so he had to stop it."
So I actually thought he was
We're past the regeneration now.
refusing to regenerate a la the Master, where he was just like, just let me die. And no, Moffat says, no, it's basically 10th Doctor syndrome all over again. Fuck you, Moffat. Do something original.
I actually would have preferred it if he was
that's-
afraid of regenerating into the Valued or something
If-
like that.
If we named our podcasts, like if we named our streams something other than the episode title that we're talking about, that should be the name of this episode. Fuck you, Moffat. Do something original.
Oh, and I've actually been saying that for years.
True, but that's especially today, because remember all the
Especially
things that
poignant
you
today.
and all the things I bitched to you
yes,
about
even-
on Saturday were that.
And yeah, I would like to welcome you all to the Fuck You Moffat podcast, by the way.
Oh, the scorn is gonna be high tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
So, moving on to our previous episode, World Enough in Time. Tim.
Yes, we have the official rating, including HD and +1. For the week ending 25th June 2017, World Enough in Time had an official rating of 4.995 million viewers, which puts it at the 21st most watched program of the week and the 9th highest rated program on the BBC.
And
It's
still
been a
was not
while.
able to break that 5 million barrier.
Still, yeah, still not able to break that 5 million, and still not able to break above 20.
Yeah.
Well, it is like 4 spots higher than the week before, I think.
Two
Well,
or three
yeah.
spots.
Because
I
Eaters of Light was like
It's-
25, I think.
thought it was 24. I could be wrong though.
But yeah, I mean, if you take a look, you're never going to score high as long as everybody's watching Coronation Street, Emmerdale, and EastEnders.
And the reason why
Because
they're all
that's-
watching them instead of Doctor Who is because Doctor Who's been kind of meh.
But no, I mean, even at its best, it had trouble beating Coronation Street. That is like the world's biggest soap opera, in the UK. It is huge, absolutely huge.
I'm sorry, I watch
And of
soap
course-
operas and I start going completely Mystery Science Theater on them.
Yes, but you're not the target audience, Matt. You are A, the wrong gender, and B, too young, and C, not married and living at home.
I would refer to you to Lister on that, but anyway.
And anyway, you're still kind of it's not targeted for you. So yeah, you would get bored watching it, but a lot of people don't. But the thing is that if you take a look at this, the entire top 13 slots are Coronation Street, EastEnders, and Emmerdale, all of it.
Yeah.
I think they need to actually do a little bit of more demographics in the UK. Put soap operas on their own tier, reality show on another tier, and drama on a third tier, you know?
Pretty much.
Well, that's the funny thing. The Voice Kids is like way under Doctor Who, whereas normally Britain's Got Talent, which is what would always crush Doctor Who beforehand, was usually above it in this kind of stuff.
So, as a designated non-soap drama, I think Doctor Who was the number one. Because you take out Coronation Street, Emmerdale, EastEnders, they're soaps. You got Poldark. I don't know what the hell Poldark is. I need to look that up. The Lock and Country File are the only three above Who. And Casualty. Casualty, actually, okay, so it would be the number 2 after Casualty.
What to say, isn't Casualty a drama?
I missed Casualty, I'm sorry. But, and still, actually, no, it would be tied for number 1. Because Casualty and Doctor Who both averaged to 5 million viewers. I would have to see if there was a little more specific in there, but, Either way, it's still not doing as good as it has been traditionally. So that is some concern, but as long as it's still selling overseas, I don't think we're in any danger of being canceled anytime soon.
Yeah.
I guarantee you the props are still selling, and I bet you the action figures are too in certain circles. Anyway.
So, moving on to our future episodes, of course, we're going to start talking big about the Christmas special now. It is, after all, only 6 months away.
We got a response in the chat, by the way, Randy. You want to hear this? Poldark is a historical period drama.
Okay, so that would technically be a drama. So that would put Doctor Who number 3, at least.
Yup. Thank you for that, Vexy.
Yes, thank you. Well, we have one publicity photo for the upcoming Christmas special featuring Peter Capaldi and David Bradley as William Hartnell as the First Doctor.
Yep. So you've got Capaldi here rocking the Sonic shades, and Bradley looking over at him like, "You can't be serious."
By the way, Bradley looks so dead ringer right now.
I know.
Something that I actually noticed people point out on Twitter, I think it was, that apparently seems to be something that is gotten wrong in every time they've redone a different actor as the First Doctor, is that his sort of whatever that's called, like the little sort of bow tie-ish kind of whatever thing, is actually supposed to be blue, but in like every subsequent, the 2 subsequent actors, it's sort of black.
I'm pretty sure that he's never appeared in color though, except for publicity photos.
He did. In the 3 Doctors, but
I thought his sequences were black and white. No,
he was in color.
No, they were in color.
He was in color, but you really couldn't see his bow tie as he was hunched over it.
The projector, I think, Bill, was black and white when they were looking at him on the screen, but when you actually got a close-up of him, he was in color. When it was when it was just his straight-up footage, or if it was on the TARDIS, he was in color, but if he was on the big projector on Gallifrey, he was black and white.
No, he wasn't in color on the TARDIS screen too, but when they cut to him, they would show it in color.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because the TARDIS didn't get a color screen until the Fourth Doctor era when he revamped the control room.
I could have sworn it had a color screen. Oh well.
Either that or it just got a much bigger screen. Either way. I just wanted to point that out. I love that picture just because of that look on Bradley's face.
Yeah.
Eyeballing those sonic shades going.
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, it makes me wonder what John Hurt's War Doctor would have thought of those too.
So you're my replacement, a rock star.
An aged
That
rock star.
has been Capaldi's persona.
Yeah.
I mean, that was his ninth series persona, was the Doctor as a rock star. I kind of liked that, actually.
Also about the Christmas special from Cultbox, we have rumors of 3 big returns.
And I would like to stress that these are just rumors.
Rumors, we don't know yet for sure.
There has been no official casting call yet by the BBC. So this is all just rumors coming down from potentially insiders. But because it's coming from multiple sources, I wanted to include it.
And the BBC also apparently had to make a statement that they hadn't made a statement because people were misquoting them. Which, by the way, is not a confirmation or denial because the BBC does not confirm or deny. They just say whether or not they've made a statement.
Okay. Anyway, the possible returns for this special are Jenna Coleman returning as Clara Oswald for one last time. Okay. And it also asserts that Bill and Nardole might be making one final appearance. But whether or not it's new sequences or just old segments for flashbacks, that's...
I could definitely see Jenna Coleman's return for just like a scene.
Yeah.
Just to see him off. But yeah, they might do Bill and Nardole in flashbacks, although Bill could also return just as easily as Clara could.
And just as
Because
easily
of course
Nardole could
Moffat,
too.
because Moffat can't kill anybody.
One thing I've seen speculated, and this does seem likely, is an Androzani-esque flashback scene toward the end where he kind of has a montage of his companions, which in this incarnation would be Clara,
Actually,
Bill, and Nardole. That. Yeah, that's what I mean. It would be those. He didn't even have Danny. That was, or did he? Yes, he did. No. He had him. So
technically, Danny was there, even though he wasn't really a companion.
He had a full Tom Baker grade flashback at the end of this episode. So.
Anyway,
we might see these people. We might not. It's a mystery. Dun da da.
Making assumptions 6 months too soon.
The actors might not know yet, so it.
Yeah, could you imagine Jenna Coleman getting up for her cup of coffee and seeing this on the news and going, "What?"
She's called Steven.
This is news to me.
Want to explain this?
Steven.
I'm Queen Victoria now. Anyway, also from Coldbox, we have Peter Capaldi had some input into the writing of the Christmas special. It says that Steve Moffat was working on 4 drafts before he wrote this of the script, before it was the shooting script. And Peter Capaldi emailed him a response to the second draft. And when writing draft 3, Moffat realized that Capaldi's feedback was right. But it doesn't really say what Capaldi did.
No, of course not, because that would be giving it away.
The reason why it didn't say that is why I hadn't originally planned to talk about this, just because
It's technically not news.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a.
I was writing multiple scripts, and he said this one was the best.
I have a feeling this is more or less something that happens every week.
I don't know. They pointed this out in particular, so this I think was actually something on.
I mean, that's probably because it's a high-profile scene, but I have a feeling, actors tend to do things like, I think my character would say this. Oh, you're right. You should say it that way. That happens a lot.
Yeah, it happened a lot during the Fourth Doctor era. They would even be going through the run-throughs, and Tom Baker would be going, wouldn't it be better if I said this?
Little scenes like that, yes, but this is like an entire script he's saying. This sounds better.
Mm-hmm.
No, but he's.
I thought he was saying that specific scene. Yeah.
He's talking about making a final changes to the final scene, his goodbye scene.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the importance of it, is he's able to put his own input into the goodbye scene, and Moffat's actually listening, rather than sitting on his own ego.
Which is why it's amusing when you get all those people who are like, oh, Capaldi's obviously leaving because of Moffat's terrible writing. I'm like, 1, Moffat's leaving. 2, Moffat listens to Capaldi because he knows Capaldi has weight, and it would be stupid not to listen to him. So I don't think they're butting heads that way.
3, Capaldi has been throwing his way around with Moffat since the first day he was on set, apparently. So it's not unusual for Capaldi to throw balls at Moffat and say, hey, here's a better idea, maybe.
No, I think Moffat does not always listen.
He does not always, but he does occasionally listen.
And this one is just a case where he ran it through and went, you're right. Okay, you're right. So it's just good to hear that it is going to have Capaldi's personal touch on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, have a doctor end on a personal touch that they like is usually a good thing, yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So, next one.
We have a confirmation from the Doctor Who boss that David Bradley is a very good William Hartnell. In fact, you might be tricked into thinking William Hartnell has risen from the grave and descended down to the earth from the heavens to reclaim his role as the first Doctor.
This would not be the first time in filming history that we swear somebody has been possessed by the spirit of a dead actor. Aaron and I have both sworn on books that Carl Urban's Leonard McCoy in the Star Wars reboots, he's basically being possessed by...
You mean Star Trek?
Star Trek, sorry.
Shoot, there was a scene this week where Peter Capaldi opened his mouth and Tom Baker's voice came out.
I noticed that. I noticed it. Was that while he was shot by Cybermen?
Yes.
Yes. I heard that too.
I heard that a little bit too, yeah.
I'm like, holy shit. Capaldi, if you're not doing anything and Tom Baker dies in the next year, do you want to sub in on him for the Fourth Doctor Adventures? If you can do that voice. Yeah.
It'd be tremendously great of you.
This was shortly after he offered a young girl a jelly baby.
I know. I'm pretty sure that Capaldi had a bucket list of things he wanted to do as the Doctor before that, and as he got into this episode, he looked at the list and offer somebody a jelly baby was still there, and he's like, while they're doing filming or something, can I offer her a jelly baby? And Moffat really was like, sure.
I know at least one modern Doctor's offered someone a jelly baby, but I can't remember who.
I know the 10th has. I think 11 might have.
It's been on bucket lists for a while, because I know the 8th did it a lot.
I think the only one that has avoided it was 9.
9, and that was kind
of.
He
didn't have time.
Yeah, he just really didn't have time to actually.
And I don't remember Tennant offering anybody a jelly baby. I remember him offering people's other stuff, like that chocolate egg in that Easter one. But I don't remember him actually doing a jelly baby. But Matt Smith did.
I'm loading up the article on jelly babies right now.
The
10th Doctor only ever mentioned them in audio.
Aw.
He never actually on screen. The 11th Doctor, he mentioned them in the episode with the Flesh, but that seems to be the only time.
So you might have been thinking of it from like one of the 10th
okay,
Doctor.
nope, I'm thinking Mummy on the Orient Express.
Okay, so that was 12th. So he'd already done that.
Yeah.
So you got to do it twice.
Okay.
Once in the last 2 seasons, each time in the last 2 seasons.
So that had already been checked off his bucket list. This was just giggles.
This
Okay.
was just for giggles and extra sugar on top.
Okay, so anyway, the news that the reason that Bill wanted to put this article up was this the next paragraph after this, which, if you remember, a couple weeks ago we had been discussing the fact that the publicity version, the reviewer's copy of this went out minus the first scene, and we were speculating that maybe it had to go back to post, yada yada yada. No, it hadn't come out of post the first time yet. They actually shot it 2 weeks prior to air because it was actually shot with the Christmas special. So they shot it first and ran it through post, and it was not back by the time that the reviewers' copies went out. So that is why that came there. It wasn't really trying to avoid a spoiler or anything. Just wasn't done yet.
Come to think of that, I wonder if they're shooting on location somewhere or if that was a set.
That probably was a set. It looked like a set.
The last scene, you mean?
Yeah, or the various scenes set in Antarctica.
Yeah,
that's
those were sets.
that's obviously a set. That's the best way to control something like that.
Yeah.
They've been able to do it since Superman. I'm pretty sure they should be able to do it pretty easily by now.
It was too blue to be actual like location shooting, and it's the wrong time of year to do it in England. They would have had to gone up to the Arctic to do it. Trust me, Bill, it's a set. Okay. So,
well, that's true, especially if they're filming it nowish. Never mind. Yeah, good point.
So that's
Hadn't thought
our.
about that.
So that's our future episode news. Now we've got 2 more articles.
Actually, now would probably also be a good time for me to talk about with the other thing I was going to mention. We didn't do a special article on the fan show's interview itself because there have been multiple links on it, but there was something specifically I wanted to talk about that no one else seemed to have talked about, and that is that in this article, Moffat mentioned something very specific. He does mention that the reason Bill doesn't die at the end is because he believes Doctor Who is a happy, positive show that should not include dark things like people you like dying, and that is why all of his companions survive at the end.
And
my specific comment on that is that I'm okay with companions not dying. Lots of companions have not died. But the part that pisses me off about that outlook is that he goes out of his way to try and force you to have the emotional payoff of a death without actually having to deal with the consequences of a character really dying.
And he does this repeatedly.
Yes, every companion.
River Song, I'm going to sacrifice myself. No, not really. Amy and Rory, they're going to die. No, not really. In fact, Rory was frickin' Kenny.
Yeah.
And
he brought the Brigadier back from the dead just to make him not dead.
He freaking Clara died, but not really. And then this whole thing with Bill, again, not really. It's just stop making them die.
The first time.
Stop making them die and not there. There's many other ways that a companion can leave the Doctor.
Yeah.
Nyssa found a higher calling. Tegan got fed up with everything else that was happening around her. Susan
Martha
fell
got
in
pity
love.
that Kingo was.
And hell, I would love to see a modern take on the old Doctor Who trope of the companion falling in love and staying, because it was done so slapdash in the 60s, 70s, and 80s because they were usually written in a hurry. I would love to see where they actually planned it and they truly connected with a character in a finale episode.
The problem is that the modern doctors have gotten clean too. I mean, especially if you look at Matt Smith. Amy gets married to Rory and settles down to have a life, yet the doctor keeps showing up to take them on adventures. Prior to this, that was in Doctor Who. That was a no-no. They settle down to get married. Their ride is done.
Yeah.
But in particular, the Doctor has gotten obsessed with many of his companions. Rose.
They didn't they liken Matt Smith to a baby bird imprinting on
yes,
the first person it sees.
And that's never happened before. So what?
I mean, yes, the Doctor's gotten upset at companions leaving. He had his whole little spiel when Mel left, but nowhere near the extent that the 11th Doctor went through.
He had his moment of emo at the end of Green Death when Joe left. Him riding off sad in his car. And of course it was traumatic when Adric died. And yes, he actually died.
Yes, Moffat. And he's not the only one.
So yeah, this is complete and total bullshit out of Moffat's mouth.
Yeah.
Companions have died in Doctor Who before. And the fact that you're deciding to make that they never die is understating the fact that traveling with the Doctor is dangerous.
Every once in a while we need a very solid reminder and you're just stepping around.
By the way, it's especially ironic because in this week's episode, the Doctor references a previously non-canon story in which Jamie dies.
Yes, indeed. That's actually semi-canonized now.
Yep.
Actually, mostly canonized by what they mention. Although not all of it, since there's some really messed up portions of that.
Elements of it, at least, are canonized.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, come on. It's making this happy-go-lucky place where nobody dies. Let's face it, it's kiddyizing it. And I don't even mean for children. I mean...
This is literally kneecapping the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like a 4Kids translation of Doctor Who.
Yes.
This is a family show. Doctor Who in its previous incarnation was a children's show. And people died.
And they had more balls. That's a children's show.
We should get Don Bluth on this show.
Actually, Don Bluth would not be a bad idea.
I'm not saying every companion has to die. But I'm saying that, once in a while, somebody is going to go adventuring with the Doctor and not come back.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you if we got Don Bluth as a writer, the first thing he would do is kill somebody's mother. Because that's what he does.
So let's move on now to our...
and that actually brings me to my article. Okay, which I do have open. Good.
I hope so, Bill.
Well, yeah. On my desktop, Chrome likes to slowly reload things if I step away from them and come back. So it seems to be a little better on the laptop. All right. This is actually an article I hadn't put in myself, so I'm just need to. Okay, so this is about John Sim and about whether or not he'll play the Master again. Now, obviously, we never really expected him to be back, and according to this is quoted from Cultbox of John. He says, "I wouldn't have thought in a million years that I'd be back, yet here I am talking about it. So never say never." He says, "Doctor Who's got its own rules. I'm paraphrasing now. If they want you back, great, and that he would think about it." He's also says that he doubts they will ask. Hopefully, he got to speak with the Cybermen voice before the end of this episode to know how that at least they tend to ask for Big Finish. He says he was very, very lucky to have worked with two brilliant actors, meaning David Tennant and Peter Capaldi.
Yeah, he was a lot calmer in this episode.
Mm.
He was very much more mastery.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, sort of halfway between what he was with Tennant and old Master, I'd
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, he's a little bit calmer. He's not.
I'm
quite on-
wondering if he sat down and actually watched some old Delgados.
Mm.
And so,
Or
you know what?
I'm
A little
wondering-
something closer
yeah.
to that.
I'm also wondering if Russell maybe tried to play up the craziness for comedy
I'm
or
wondering,
something.
play up the manicness. Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
within canon, we can say that, in his first story, he was, post-regeneration, so he wasn't entirely stable. And then in his second, he was physically unstable. Whereas here they mentioned that that was sorted out, although they don't really reference how.
Yeah.
Okay. So that takes us to our final news article, which comes from Big Finish. They have announced the release of Short Trips. Is this out? Yes, out now. Short Trips: How to Win Planets and Influence People. And this is featuring Rufus Hound. No, it's Rufus Hound Presents. It is starring Rufus Hound, playing the meddling monk, a very classic villain. This is a short trip, apparently from the Fourth Doctor era. Let's see. The text blurb for it is 9 a.m. registration. 10 a.m. Our opening guest speaker discusses strategic invasion plans, including things to look out for, Time Lords to avoid, and trips on crushing the lesser races. 11 a.m. Biscuits and coffee. 12 a.m. Continuing on from his opening talk, our guest speaker discusses bringing the universe to its knees. 1 p.m. lunch. A dynamic talk with slides. The meddling monk has lectured widely for several centuries, and his wisdom is contained in the following bestsellers: The 7 Habits of Truly Terrible People, Who Moved My Son, Feel the Fear and Detonate It Anyway, The 1 Million Year Manager, and Icemen Are From Mars, Karate is From Venus.
Okay, now is that a typo or is that a regional difference?
Whether the 12 a.m., because that sounds to me like it would have been 12 p.m. here.
Yeah.
Which is noon. I honestly don't know if it's a typo.
I'm thinking that's a typo because I feel like I would have heard of it by now if it was a regional difference.
And this is apparently supposed to happen during the Dr. Harry and Sarah era. And this short trip is available now for £3.99 download. And they're also touting their Big Finish app available for iOS or Android. And of course, you can also get the short trips as a subscription, saving you the cost of 2 short trips a year. And then coming soon will be Flashpoint from the Paul McGann era, with Sheridan Smith as doing the reading as the companion. And that's all the news we got. All right, so we have a few minutes to kill here. Anybody have anything in particular that's happened to them this week? I know.
Has Australia seen Spider-Man yet?
It came out today, so I haven't had a chance to see it.
Okay.
I'm waiting to hear from my wheels whether or not we're going anytime soon.
I know. Aaron and I went to go see Despicable Me 3 yesterday.
Oh, okay.
A lot better than Despicable Me 2, by the way. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I'd heard some bad things on it on the internet, and I didn't find it anything as bad as they were saying.
This is actually the 4th movie in that universe, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Except with the Minions movie, yes.
And the Minions movie, from what I have heard, was pretty bad, and Aaron has seen it and agrees with that. But
it's not very memorable, at least. The Minions here were kind of kept separate. It was almost like there was a Minions movie inside of Despicable Me movie, which was, it actually kind of worked a little bit better because like they were isolated for the most part from the main action and had their own little side story going. along with actually Lucy and a few of the and like Agnes, who was hunting for a unicorn.
So yeah, you've got. I mean, the minions basically, to spoilerize a little bit, got a little fed up with Drew not doing villainy, or Gru not doing villainy, and left, and went off to do their own thing, and basically get in a lot of trouble. And so you would be having the main story, and occasionally it would cut to the side story.
The side story being the minions doing their crazy stuff.
And it's not as bad as Despicable Me 2, where you would have this whole scene with minions, and then you'd cut to the next scene, which was more minions. I still thought that the minion sub-story was a bit much, because I think minions are best done when getting orders from Gru, or in the background doing weird shit. That's where they work best. But because there's so much you could only deal with people that just babble in a variation of 3 languages and nonsense, you know?
Yeah.
There were a couple things I did catch in there that made me laugh hysterically. At one point, the daughters are staging a luau for Gru and his wife, and the minions start singing a song, which I recognized as being the Hawaiian war chant from the old Spike Jones audio radio show back in the 30s and 40s. So I was like, seriously? And I only know about Spike Jones because of my grandmother. Quite big on that. But all in all, it's enjoyable if you like that. It's not going to be one of the movie greats. It's not going to be winning the animation award for this year. But if you're out for just a little light comedy, it was enjoyable.
It's not Poison.
It's not Poison, no. By all means, no.
Yeah.
It won't kill you to watch a little bit of it once in a while.
Mm-hmm. If it was on TV, I would probably turn it on, unless it's on during the time something big's on.
Yeah, unless there's something bigger on, yeah.
But other than that, it's just like, hey, Despicable Me 3's on. I'm gonna watch that.
Sure, why not?
It made me chuckle a lot. Who was it? Matt Stone or Trey Parker that was in the?
Trey Parker. Oh, wait, what was that?
Matt Stone. It was Trey Parker. Okay.
Yeah.
He plays the main villain in the movie.
Brat.
Yeah. And you could kind of tell that it was him, because if you listen to it, you could occasionally hear him get into his Randy Marsh voice. It was like he was trying to do the Randy Marsh voice, but on a octave higher. So.
Yeah, it was actually kind of fun. There were times when I thought he sounded like Jim Cummings.
Well, that doesn't say much, because Jim Cummings could sound like freaking anybody. He was a very good voice actor.
Oh, he's got that kind of deep, growly voice that I recognize, and that's kind of how Trey Parker sounded for some of this. So.
Steve Carell had a dual role in this as Gru and his long-lost brother Drew, and I thought that actually went off fairly well. So
I was wondering who this other guy looked like him was. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. I don't know if I would pay full price for it, but we went out on a Tuesday, and it was actually still $5, even over at the other cinema. Can't call it Star anymore, and I can't call it AMC anymore, so. Yeah, AMC bought what used to be Sundance 608 here in Madison, and they had to sell their 18 plus IMAX cinema
theater,
to because of laws. And I'm sitting here going, what the hell, guys? You own the only IMAX theater in Wisconsin, and you're selling it for this?
I know. I wonder, it just must be really expensive to run an IMAX theater because you need special film for that and everything.
Wouldn't be surprised.
And 18 theaters in one cinema, that's a lot of cleaning and maintenance and stuff that needs to be done. That's a huge complex.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're literally 18.
That started out owned by Star Cinema, and then it was purchased by Carasotes like 6-7 years ago, and then Carasotes was bought out by AMC like 5 years ago. And now they've sold it to New Vision Cinema or something like that. This tiny little company. Well, I'm wondering how they're gonna hold on to it.
Well, and actually, they're starting to do the $5 movies on Tuesdays. So we went to this with only just what do you call it? For only $15 for 3 seats.
Yeah. Plus, I don't know how much you paid for food. I know I paid like $8.
Yeah, I didn't pay too much.
For like the world's worst hot dog and a drink.
Oh, geez, yeah. Well, you wanted the last hot dog on July 4th. You knew there was only one hot dog there, dude.
Yes, I know. But
over chicken tenders and nachos.
Yes, I didn't want to wait.
And popcorn.
It's July 4th, so I wanted a goddamn hot dog.
Oh, you ate it in addition to popcorn. I think the popcorn drowned out the hot dog.
Yesterday, our neighbors had this huge barbecue out there, and I could smell for 3 hours the smell of cooking hot dogs being grilled, just wafting into our house. Drove me absolutely sane. So by the time I picked up Aaron to do this, I'm like, I want a hot dog. I want a goddamn hot dog. So I get this thing, and what I get is a wizard finger, if you know that, on a 2-day-old stale bun.
Oh.
It was so stale, it was hard.
I would have taken one bite, spat it back out, and thrown it at the people that sold it to me and told them, get me something fresh.
I was in the theater by then. I didn't want to fucking move.
Ugh. No, I still would have gone back and demand my money back on that hot dog. That's terrible.
Yeah, mind you, I can order hot dogs on Tuesday all the time from Point, and they're always fresh and they're always good. So I'm going to take that under advisement. If I eat, I will eat from Point.
Yeah.
Apparently, yikes. Anyway, anything else?
Yeah, anything else anybody wants to babble about?
Nothing much. I've just been watching My Hero Academia. Hopefully now I will have time to catch up and see the last of season 2 on that tomorrow.
All right. Anyone else? Anybody?
I'll be watching Jason and Argonauts this weekend, hopefully, with luck.
Brief news, Star Wars has been started the Forces of Destiny series of animated shorts on YouTube, which are about different characters from the Star Wars film and TV universe. So there's, I think the third one's out now. I've seen the first 2. There's not really much to talk about yet, but if you're interested in that, look it up.
All right. Anyone else? Anybody?
Nope.
Bueller? Anybody?
Bueller.
Okay, 5-minute challenge. Who wants to do it this week?
Built it last time.
And I did it before him.
And Randy did before you. And I did before Randy. Which does mean that we're back to Tom?
Unless Tom wants to take a pass on it, in which case it'll go back to you, Matt.
Yeah, it's a lot to recap. I have like the brain of an 80-year-old when it comes to sort of stuff. I would not be able to recall everything.
Okay, we'll save you until we do a retro review then.
Yep.
If you're lucky, you can remember that one. Maybe if you've seen it more than once.
I could try my hand at this.
Oh boy!
Are you going to take it seriously?
Are you going to do it, Aaron?
Are you going to take it seriously? This is the Series 10 finale.
Oh,
So,
you know I won't.
Then sit down.
Okay, then
Where's the fun in that?
you shush.
Fine,
If this had been one of the monk episodes, I would have said go for it.
Okay.
Because I couldn't take those seriously anyway.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I
is
thought
just-
you were talking about the meddling monk for a second, considering
No,
what we
no,
were talking about.
I thought you were talking about that too. I'll narrate and meddling.
No, the monk trilogy.
Synopsize it.
No, the middle of the season.
Yeah.
I just turned a verb into, or a noun into a verb.
So Matt,
Verbalized.
I've got a stopwatch up. You ready?
All right, ready.
In 3, 2, 1, begin.
We start off with the doctor slipping in and out of consciousness, but we get our clips of him being beaten by the master and Missy and being rendered nearly unconscious next to a keyboard as Nardole ran away. He's on the roof. He finally comes to completely on the roof as the two masters have been contemplating with each other what to do with the doctor, and decide that they're going to try. They possibly have concocted an idea, but as they are starting to get ready to announce this, they suddenly realize that all of the Cybermen are starting to march in formation up to the hospital and start to question what on earth is going on. The doctor tells them, "You shouldn't have let me near that keyboard," and we get a quick clip of him actually editing code on the keyboard very quickly before he is pulled away. Essentially, he has allowed for the notice of two hearts still being close enough to being human, which means that Time Lords are officially on the meal plate for being upgraded. The Cybermen start to, in massive numbers, drive into the hospital. Nardole shows up with a spaceship because, of course, he was actually planning something to help escape with. The Masters get into the ship and tell Nardole to take off and nearly force him to until they are suddenly stopped. Bill, as still a Cyberman, manages to hold the ship down until the doctor can finally get up into the ship as well and then let Bill in as well. They manage to go to the floor where the solar farms are, which looks like a legitimate Unearthly farm, or Mondas farm, possibly too, and they manage to break through the bottom floor into this particular area. The Bill shows up with the doctor in her arms, and the other two masters show up and start kind of contemplating where they are and what to do next. Then, along and the short of it, Bill wakes up a couple days later, and she is still a Cyberman, but she perceives herself as still being human. The doctor slowly tries to ease her through it, even though she's also noticed that people seem very skittish about her for some reason. As she figures this all out and is still ongoing, the doctor is starting to set up a plan with Nardole in order to help them defend against the Cybermen, and they don't want to risk going too many floors in advance too quickly, because if they try to go to the top floor right away, the Cybermen would actually have enough time to get something going as a trap for them as soon as they try to get back to the TARDIS at the top. So they have to take it slowly up the floors, a few at a time. The doctor finally gets Nardole to find a back exit for the people so that they can escape. The doctor tries to talk the Masters into staying with him for the final fight against the Cybermen. Both of them decide to go away, but at the last minute, Missy decides that she really does need to stay with the doctor. This is possibly her finest moment. But then, as she backstabbed the other master to possibly have him regenerate to Missy off screen somewhere, he shoots her with the sonic laser and says that, no, you're not going to stand with him. We will never stand with him. And we deserve to die like this because who wouldn't backstab us? More so than ourselves. They have a laugh and the elevator closes and Missy supposedly dies as far as we are aware. The doctor has his last stand against the Cybermen, starts quoting the fourth doctor just before he has to stop a huge explosion. Bill, the Cyberman, stumbles over his unconscious body, kneels down and starts to cry, but all of a sudden realizes she has moved as she looks back and sees Star-Eyed Girl. I forget what her name is.
Heather.
She sees Heather and realizes that something's up. She looks back to the doctor to see her still Cyberman body suddenly fall over and die. Heather has allowed Bill to become the kind of water pilot thing that she is too, which doesn't completely destroy them, but allows them to continue on in a different plane of existence, more or less. But they can still become as physical as they want to be. They get the Doctor back to the TARDIS and then leave him for now as Bill and Heather head off to see the rest of the galaxy. The Doctor wakes up having a teardrop having hit him, which helps restart his regeneration again, and he fights against it actually happening. He runs out to snow again and again, trying to force the regeneration to stop it while constantly shouting, "I am the Doctor." And then all of a sudden another very familiar voice says, "Oh, I'm the Doctor." The first, you might say, the original, as we see the first Doctor coming through the snow. The end. Randy?
Sorry, had my mic muted.
Oh, okay.
I said, wow. You managed to do that in 4 minutes, 57 seconds and a half.
58 on my end. I got that by a hair.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I don't think
And
you
considering
really
that
missed
was-
anything.
I didn't miss any major stuff, no. I got all of the major
Yeah.
key points.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering because you kind of went from, I'm like, wow, you're spending a lot of time on the beginning.
Well,
And then
you got to
suddenly
get through
you're
all
at
the
the
beginning
ending.
parts very quickly, and then you can speed run through pretty much the rest of it, because the rest of it is kind of in between talking and trying to plan something.
Yeah, action
Yeah.
scenes take a lot of time on screen, but very little time in the summary.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to take a moment for something you pointed out in the summary,
Hmm.
and it's being used by a lot of fans to pretty much try to mandate that the Doctor is going to regenerate into a woman, and that is the tear that falls on the Doctor's face,
That doesn't mean jack.
and a line earlier that he says that what is it going to be all girl in the future? The Master says it, the Doctor says, "I hope so." No, people.
No, people.
This does
Yeah.
not mean that he's not going
That
to...
really doesn't say anything.
Yeah, that's just Moffat like referencing the, the whole thing.
possibility, yeah. Thing
Yeah.
is, you got to remember that Moffat wrote this months ago.
Yes.
Mm.
This was filmed a couple of months ago. They still didn't know who the next Doctor is going to be. We still don't know. We don't know if they know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Pretty
we
much.
think we know they know, but they haven't told us.
And Russell may have been trolling us.
Yeah, it's possible.
Oh, no,
He's not as much of a troll as Moffat, but he may also be making some assumptions that might not be correct. In either way, when Moffat wrote this, he didn't have a fucking clue who the next Doctor is.
Mm. Yeah, to me, this just came off as like Moffat does seem to do stuff like that, where he'll take something that's either people want or that's a theory and kind of turn it into a bit of a.
It's also
a
entirely
joke line like
possible
that.
that the "We Can Only Hope" was literally just the Doctor trolling the Master.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Of course.
we knew that at this point, this incarnation of the Master is a misogynist asshole. So why not piss him off?
Yeah,
Why not?
I actually do not want the next Doctor to be a girl. I'm kind of be fine with like the 14th Doctor being one. But I think there needs to be a little space between Missy and...
True.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just seem like one is because of the other.
Yeah, it
I
doesn't-
agree with that.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'd feel like if the Doctor
I
regenerated.
also would be a lot more comfortable if we knew that there was an established writing team when the first female Doctor comes around, just
Yes.
because, well, kind of Wonder Woman syndrome, where at this point we know Wonder Woman is a success, but a year ago there was the whole thing of, well, do we want DCEU to be the first ones doing a major female superhero because it's going to, what by choice or not, represent all female superheroes? It's kind of the same thing here with the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to have the writing team be established and be in their stride before having to take on the challenge of writing a female Doctor for the first time.
Or at least for us to know who the writing team is and know that they consist of people who know their shit. Because we
Either
really
that
only know one member.
Or have us know it for a while and go, God, no, God's no, not with these people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, either one way or the other. I am not saying I don't want there to be a female Doctor, I'm just saying I want it to be handled well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't want to just half-ass these sort of things. Otherwise, it turns
And
out bad,
I
people
don't
can
and
make
I don't
excuses
want
not
to
to
and I
revisit.
don't want it to feel like they're just doing it because it worked with Missy.
And then, I don't want them to feel like
Yeah.
they need to do it because it's a token.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Although I was thinking it would be such a troll if Peter Capaldi regenerated into Katie Manning. And ran if nobody else knows exactly who I'm referring to with that.
No, Bill. Don't make me drive to Connecticut and beat you repeatedly.
Just the idea of that, huh?
You're sitting there and suddenly you just hear this big whump coming from your door. Come out here, Bill, and take your medicine.
But then we'd get to see Panda on screen.
Don't make me hurt you, Bill. You know, that comic that you mentioned was quasi-canonized was a Frobisher comic.
Yup.
Yes.
Yup.
Perry Frobisher and Jamie.
So that quasi-canonizes Frobisher?
Yee! Bring back Frobisher.
I
Bring
would
back
love
Frobisher.
for a Children in Need special for them to bring Frobisher on screen.
That would actually be
That
kind
would
of
be
cool.
awesome.
Okay, so good aspects of the episode. Matt, you're up first.
Oh wow, I'm up first. Good general thing about the episode. I really liked how different people played off of Bill. Like you could tell that the Doctor and Nardole could still kind of see through the Cyberman and still see Bill inside.
But everyone,
But,
Yeah,
but
I
everyone
don't-
else
I-
just really saw only the outside.
I don't think Nardole treated her any different at all.
Hardly
like
at
from-
all.
from
And the Doctor
look at
kind of.
Nardle's origins.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying
If-
it makes sense.
Yeah,
But
if
I like it. I
nobody-
don't think he
If
reacted
nobody
at
else,
all.
Nardole would know more what Bill's
Yeah.
going through than anyone.
The Doctor mostly treated her the same, except for being wary.
Being a little
Then
bit
the
wary
other
because he
people-
knew what she could accidentally do if she was too high strung.
Yeah.
He was there mostly to keep her calm.
Yeah.
Of course, in rewatching it, especially since there's a vocal minority that likes to complain about and claim that every episode this season is all about race and sexuality and such.
No.
And it's interesting because if that were true, there was a perfect opportunity at the beginning of this episode to make a racial allegory, and they didn't even try. And I'm not saying that they should have or that they shouldn't have. I'm just saying it would have fit there if they were actually going for that, but that's not what they were going for.
Yeah. And how the whole cyber conversion thing could have been an allegory for
for like taking all of that away. Yeah.
gay conversion therapy.
Oh yeah,
Stuff like
that too. I wasn't
that too.
going. I was more just like going with like the people backing away from Bill and everything is reminiscent of people that are scared every time they see a black man type of thing.
Yeah.
But no, if that was the intent, that was obviously not like slapped in your face.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tim, what about you? What did you like about the episode?
I really liked the action sequences, especially the one where the little girl throws the apple and it blows up.
You know, I was watching. You realize how many trampolines they had to have on set, hidden by brushes and stuff?
Oh, quite a
Because
few.
I'm like watching them plan all these explosions, and you watch the guy in the Cyberman suit bounce up and down the trampoline, and action, and they set off the pyro, and the guy.
Or the whole thing was filmed inside a bouncy castle, but it was chroma keyed.
It was all blue or green. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not kidding. I saw this in the behind-the-scenes footage.
Okay.
okay.
I didn't see that footage.
I didn't see that
Yeah.
footage either. So okay.
Yeah.
Where
No.
was it so I can check it out
YouTube.
later?
YouTube.
Okay.
I think it was
was
on
it the
either
official channel?
I think so.
Okay, if it was on the official channel, that should be.
So
pretty
yeah, they
easy to
had these
find.
blue trampolines that were all hidden, like they had brush and stuff in front of them, and they all filmed it at an angle and stuff, so you couldn't see it. And so they would have these Cybermen bouncing up and down, getting a good bounce going before they'd go action. Then they'd have the pyro guy set off the explosion, and the guy would just go flying out of there onto a crash mat, which was also hidden by brush. So it was kind of awesome. So these effects were practical.
A lot of them, yeah. I'm sure a lot of the flame was digitally enhanced, but
Yeah,
the main
the
stuff.
pyro was enhanced. The actual explosion was enhanced, but the guy jumping and falling.
The guy's
was all
flying
practical.
around and
Yeah, I didn't think they were really blowing up actors.
stuff. Yeah.
No, but they could have also been using CGI.
Right.
They were using practical instead of CGI. So
They were using as much practical as they could get away with.
So that was pretty awesome. Aaron, how about you? What did you like about the episode in general?
Aaron, are you
Who is
muted?
that?
Oh.
No, you cut out just as you said my name. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I heard.
We heard him. Yeah, and actually, that must have been your end, Aaron. What was your favorite general overall thing?
My favorite general thing, I think, I like the reintroduction of Heather. I did like that at the end, how they brought her back and how they kind of concluded her and Bill's story together.
It did make this one a little more palatable for me than Clara's death.
Yeah.
Because at least you had that as a Chekhov's gun from the beginning of the season.
And see, that's the thing. I both liked and disliked that. I liked it because it was well done this time. I disliked it because it had just been done poorly a season ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, I still don't like the whole death, not really. I just said this one was more palatable.
If Clara had stayed dead, I would have liked it this time.
Yes.
But in this time, instead, it feels like he's trying to go for extra credit.
Yeah, it's kind of a rehash. It is a rehash, but I felt it was done a lot better, and it had a lot more gravity to it, a lot more. I kind of felt more cosmic, more
gravitas.
Yeah, more gravitas.
That being said, I wish there would have been more time given to Heather throughout the rest of the season to kind of reference her, as in, this might be something you guys want to keep in mind.
No,
this might be important.
You don't want to do that, Matt. For that very reason.
But she only appeared for one episode. It's
right, but exactly, that's why.
If you referenced it too many times, people would know it was going to be important at the end. It would be hitting you over the head with a hammer with it.
I would be okay if there was a very brief moment, like if there was a scene in, like, say, halfway through the season where they're like, what happened? Somebody knocked that guy out. We don't know. We don't know what could have done that. And it was never explained until now.
Like in Extremis?
The
one with the suits. And the space station.
You mean
Oxygen?
Oxygen?
Oxygen, yes. Sorry, Oxygen. Oxygen, yes. Sorry. That was my bad.
Are you just saying, like, that part of the season, or you're talking about a specific moment?
That would have been a good time if they were going to make that reference. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like a random thing where they're like, or if Nardole didn't do the Vulcan nerve pinch, and just the guy had fallen down and nobody knew what hit him. And then Heather mentioned, remember when I saved you from the monks or whatever? And they flashed back to that scene and showed her actually knocking him out, but you didn't see it during the episode. Something like that.
Yeah, like something hit the guy off screen, then all of a sudden you just flash back and everyone looks kind of surprised and then shrugs and drags him in.
Right.
The problem is that if you kept going back to it, Matt, it would have been way too obvious.
Right.
Yeah,
and
but I also still feel like they didn't give us enough to actually feel like this is going to be a thing.
At the same time, I don't necessarily think it would have been bad, because it would have kind of been it would have been as expected, because it would have been like Missy in series 8, it would have been Bad Wolf, it would have been Rose in series 4. So there's pros and cons to that, but it would not have been out of line for what we expect from Doctor Who. It would have been, there's something on your back.
I actually liked this one better because it was a proper Chekhov's. It was the item referenced during the first act that doesn't come into play until the climax of the third. And
it wasn't at all surprising, because the Doctor did specifically say, I forget the exact line, but there was something, it was what, we never know if we'll see her again, which in Doctor Who means we'll definitely see her again.
I guess, but yeah.
By the way, on that whole subject of Moffat never killing people, it was Moffat, by the way, that influenced Russell T to bring Jenny back from the dead way back in The Doctor's Daughter.
That's true. Yep.
So he's been doing this for a while.
Yeah. He's been neutering the show for a while now, and even the stuff he asks to have brought back, he doesn't do anything with.
Mm.
Just slow.
So
And actually,
slow
that
clap.
makes that make more sense. So maybe that says, she wasn't brought back to do something with her. She was brought back because of his view of what Doctor Who is.
Sorry, I just suddenly remembered that. Anyway, Thomas.
Yeah.
So I actually had to mute my mute my headset entirely. So just so I don't accidentally repeat anything, what had been said since I think it would have been Aaron that I missed.
Yeah, well, that was right in front of you, and Aaron liked the bringing back of Stargirl.
Heather.
Okay.
Yep.
I generally liked the interactions between Missy and the Master just because it seems to make so much sense that they would do the exact opposite of what the multi-doctor stories are usually like, where the doctors bitch at each other and then start to like each other. Whereas in this case, they start off absolutely in love with each other, basically, and then start bitching at each other later.
Especially on the Master's part. The Master was downright disturbing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, give us a kiss, make me. And then she freaking slams him up against a wall. And after that whole thing, is it wrong that? And Missy's like, yes. I'm like, oh, God damn it.
I think she looked down in between that too,
Yes,
didn't she?
she did.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that it wasn't a screwdriver in his pocket, I guess.
Correct. And it says something about the Master that a woman slams him against the wall and he gets hard. What the hell, man?
Wait,
He
I
got
mean,
issues.
it's him, so.
I forget if it was the doctor or just a random commenter on social media mentioning the ultimate narcissist, the woman it takes to get the Master is himself.
Yeah. Of course, that does go with the old adage, would it be incest or masturbation? But
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of disturbing.
You know what
However,
it is? It's you.
They missed a great line that they could have said after Missy stabbed him. It would have been great if he had said, "Always the women."
Actually, yeah, with him.
As a throwback to Utopia.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I almost want to smack Steven.
Was Chanto the one that shot him?
Yes.
And then his wife was the one that shot him again. Too bad Rassilon wasn't a woman, or that Romana never shot him.
Yeah, but we actually don't know what happened with that war between Rassilon and we know that the other Time Lords eventually kicked him out, but apparently he forced Rassilon to regenerate, and he just got stabilized and freaking left. So, I would say the Master was the victor in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Master actually got a foot up on Rassilon and just humbled him.
But yeah, I don't think it would have gone with the dialogue in that scene, because he was instead, being all proud that he hadn't lost his touch and that, his future self stabbed him.
It still would have been, like if he had said it in the elevator. Always the women. Yeah. It would have just been, it would have just been icing for all the other references that were there. But yeah, Missy and the Master were disturbingly delightful. The interaction between the two actors was great. They were. All right, Bill, how about you? What did you like about the episode?
So, I liked all of the references to past Cybermen stories, because it was, it was just enough to get fans' attention, but I don't think any of them were obtrusive. They mentioned the World Shapers, as we talked about before. They mentioned the invasion. They mentioned Jelly Babies, which were not a Cyber, but it was still a reference. Or actually, yeah, not even just Cybermen stories, but all the references in general. We talked about the ones at the Regeneration scene, and I think they were all just very tastefully done and, very nice for a major episode like this. There was a reference to Legopolis as well.
I missed that one. What was that?
There was they were asking the doctor different ways that he has died in the past, and then Missy said, "I know you've fallen."
Yes.
Yep.
We know you've fallen, yeah, so that would be Legopolis Castrovalva,
I believe during the big fight, the Doctor was also showing off different planets that he had defeated the
that's what I'm saying. He mentioned both the Vord and Marinus, which is a reference to the World Shapers' idea that the Vord became the Cybermen. He mentioned Planet 14. He mentioned Mondas. I'm not sure if
Planet 14 was only ever a mention in
the invasion. Yeah, it's never actually been confirmed what Planet 14 means.
Mm-hmm. Mind you, according to the same comic, Planet 14 meant Marinus, but
Mm-hmm. And of course, according to that comic, that Mondas and Marinus were the same planet, but the Doctor here mentions them as 3 separate planets.
Yep.
So I don't think he's quite crazy enough to just name the same planet 3 different times.
Yep.
I don't know if he mentioned Pete's World, but I'm pretty sure he mentioned Cybermen arising on Earth.
He did mention Canary Wharf, which could be
that's true.
Or.
That was a battle with them. Yeah.
So yeah, that was very nice. Shout out to the old episodes. So I really liked, by the way, the Doctor's Capaldi's performance in this. His quiet desperation. Everything. He just had some great dialogue and some great moments in here. All right, so what we didn't like about the episode, Matt.
Okay, actually, here's a grievance I had, and this goes actually in continuity. So, why did we have fully upgraded Cybermen and then lesser Cybermen running around when they're supposed to be part of the same group?
Yeah.
Well, the reason for that is the fact that, remember, even though we're only on floor 503, the bottom floor is still progressing by century.
They should have still been upgraded.
I think he means the point that there were still Mark I Cybermen
running
at
around
the
with
same
Mark
time
8s.
as Nightmare and Silver Cybermen in the same fight, when those 10th Planet Cybermen should have been upgraded into a newer model hundreds of years later.
Maybe not.
No, they should have been.
Unless the idea is that they
there's
couldn't be.
no excuse not to have upgraded
unless,
them.
of course, it was the fact that they were going to a staging area before doing the invasion of 507.
Because he does say specifically that they built a.
Yeah, and I don't like that they had gone straight to Nightmare and Silver on this.
Mm-hmm. Well, they went straight to the Cyber Legions one and then Nightmare and Silver.
No, the one that we saw when the one that
you're saying in terms of order we show them in the episode.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I would have loved to have seen more interim Cybermen.
Yes, there needed to be other versions.
I would have loved to have seen like a Tomb grade Cyberman.
Yeah.
An Invasion grade Cyberman, and some 80s Cybermen. Even if they'd had no speaking role.
Yeah.
Right.
I would have loved to have seen a few of that as we kind of.
Or even here's one thing that New Who likes to do, is just show a screen showing them. Imagine if there had just been a screen of and actually, was it the Cybermen or the Daleks that did that projection when they were talking at Canary Wharf? I think it was the Cybermen, right?
Projection? What?
No, I wouldn't want to see it in a projection. I would actually wanted to see him physical.
Well, I'm saying if they just showed a cyber controller who was all the way down on the bottom floor, but was giving instructions to the ones in the fight.
Yeah, I think a cyber controller or something more of a cyber leader would be a good addition to the story.
It would have actually given the Cybermen more development and more threat.
Speaking of part of the reason that's on my mind is I recently listened to partially because of this episode the Big Finish story, the ISOS Network, which was I think it was the Cybermen anniversary special, but it features it's an Invasion sequel, but it features the Tomb cyber controller giving instructions to the cyber leaders from Invasion. So it definitely, especially gives interesting ideas about how the evolution of the Cybermen worked. But it was cool to see, those two different voices in the same story as well.
So what I would have loved to see is the fact that they first off send an invasion of Mark 1 Cybermen. And, they just, kick their asses. But the next time we see them, they're like the Mark II versions, the Tomb versions.
The Tomb and Moon versions, yeah.
They just come in waves.
Just come in waves, and every time they get wiped out, they add new upgrades very quickly.
That's what I would have been rooting for, and I imagine that the writer might have been going for that, but I'm sure there's probably a budget issue with that many different types of Cybermen.
Yeah, probably.
I wouldn't think it would have been that much more to make some of those old classic suits.
Yeah,
but if you make, you'd have to make at least 2 or 3 of each. So you're basically saying another 9, 10 suits, and on top of the Mondazian ones that they made specifically for the serial as well.
Yeah, I still would have loved to see it because the whole concept of them going the same way as you got in this other area,
right,
would have been outweighed by the sheer badass awesomeness of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just that the Cybermen were too hodgepodge.
Yep.
Basically, it's the main issue here.
Okay, Tim, how about you? What didn't you like about it?
I didn't like how the hinted at romance between Nardole and the farmer lady really never went anywhere.
Well, it was a one-sided romance.
It was one-sided, and they didn't have much time either for it.
Yeah, it had basically 2 scenes, and Nardole wasn't.
It might as well have been dropped from the story, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
It gave Nardole some additional lines. That was pretty much it. Otherwise, he would have been completely in the background for most of this. All right, Aaron, how about you? What didn't you like?
It was actually something that I really kind of noticed, and I know there's not supposed to be very many people on the farm here anyway, but when everyone's kind of walking around and trying to get set up and prepared for the siege, we see the extras, piling up sandbags and working outside, but we don't really see many of them in interior shots. Like, usually you'd see people bumping into each other, running back and forth, maybe helping the doctor to excavate the cellar or watch over the cellar in case someone, figures out that they're trying to escape through that hatch.
I would have just assumed that they were watching the windows, so they were all spread out.
It just kind of felt a bit sparse population-wise, even though, like I said, it's a farm in the middle of nowhere, and there's not very many people to begin with, and especially the children. They must have. We only see 2 kids.
We see them in other shots, but outside of that, yeah.
Oh yeah, there's actually a little little boy running around.
Mm-hmm.
But
the one girl, I can't remember her name, but the one girl who throws the apple says that she can throw better than any of the boys, but we really only see, very few kids.
Yeah.
Very few extras as it is.
We see
and only for certain shots, so they were really
we see a bunch of them in, like, the bit at the start before as the cold opening, but then only like 2 or 3 after that.
Yeah.
Until they're funneling them away.
Yeah, until they're getting into the tunnel to get out of there.
Yeah, that really I think was budget, and again, that means that they really overspent someplace because this should have been where all their money went.
Yeah, and
I think they overspent on the monks.
Yeah,
possibly.
And it really, this really, and the monks actually kind of, some of those episodes, like the first 2, I think felt very sparsely populated too.
Well, the first one makes sense. That was a simulation, and they were going to a lot of different, like, specific, high security places.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like the fact that, as much as I liked parts of the specific Bill exit bit, I don't like the fact that it was basically a retread of how Clara left.
Yeah, we've said that a few times. Moffat can't do anything original these days, it seems. Everything he's doing is rehashing what he's done before.
Yeah, because the first time I watched this, I was like, this is exactly what he did with Clara and Ashilda.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously not exactly the same in the sense that
this has
how
been
it played out, but
it's extremely
similar.
if me had kissed Clara at the end before they went off in the stolen TARDIS, it would have been exactly the same.
And it's Moffat's had this problem every fucking season, that all of his stories is the same thing. He's always hinting that somebody's going to die.
Since you're okay, I was gonna say, since you're going on to Moffat saying the same thing, I'm going to go on mine because it was what Tim said is half of mine, and that was Moffat's repeat plots. So the second part of mine was going to be that the first arc of this episode, the first half, is basically a retread of Clara's arc in Asylum of the Daleks. It's everything he's done is already, or at least all the major parts of this have been done by him before.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you look at season 5, spends the entire season leading up to the fact that the TARDIS is supposed to explode, assumedly with the Doctor in it.
Mm-hmm.
He literally starts season 6 with the Doctor being assassinated. And then everything in season 7 is leading into Trenzalore, where the Doctor dies. Series 8 deals with, everybody going to heaven, so everybody's dying, which turns out to be a cyber trap. Series 8 Series 9 leads into Clara's death. And then we've got Series 10 and Bill's death. He's done the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think he's not that creative if all of his stories turn out exactly the same.
Or at least he has trouble creating under pressure. Because when he's only doing one thing at a time, he can be fairly creative. But when he has to show run on top of it, he can't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had something that bothered me. Okay, as established in the last episode, right? This was a ship, brand new. Only had in the pilots in it. Was on its way to Mondas to pick up people. Got caught in the black hole, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Why did the farm have horses?
Why did the farm look like a farm?
Well, no, I could see that over a couple, centuries of development, etc. Because then you can do the building and stuff. Stuff will grow. But where did they get horses?
Actually, Mondas apparently had horses.
Yes, but they hadn't been to Mondas yet. They were on their way there to pick up the colonists.
I thought the people came from Mondas, was what they said last time.
Yes, but they only had the crew.
Yeah, it would seem it was probably a ship like that. It would have had to have been built on an orbital station of some sort,
or another nearby planet or something.
Yeah,
but they only had the operating crew, not the colonists.
That being said, wouldn't they also need to get around? And if they don't have power to everything yet, wouldn't they need some sort of transportation?
I wouldn't think the first thing you would. The first thing, remember, this is just a skeleton crew. This isn't even, there's no colonists, nothing. I wouldn't think that the first thing they would bring is, hey, let's bring horses around. Generally, we bring cars and things like that.
Buggies.
There is the question. There is the question if it's like a scooter, but there's a hologram over it to look like a horse, because we don't actually know
that is also
for sure.
a possibility.
Could be. Maybe the horses were cryogenically frozen, or maybe they were kept as embryos.
I wouldn't see.
I would believe that if the colonists had already boarded. I don't believe that without the colonists. Yeah.
Anyway,
I think it's more likely it's like a Segway and then they have like a hologram over it to look more like a farm, like the Apple.
I just saw it. The horse pulling a carriage, and it just bothered me. If it had been a robo horse, I would have been fine with it.
But yeah, the fact that they established that there were modern day weapons that were disguised as ancient rifles, semi explains it without actually explaining it.
It's still.
And given the budget, I doubt that they could even afford little attachments for the horse to make it look like it was a cyborg or a robot horse.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't have included the horse and buggy.
I'm sure they have aluminium foil in Cardiff.
It just bothered me. Okay, so favorite scene, Matt?
Favorite scene. the doctor talking to the masters before they decide to leave.
His speech about
why he's doing the things he does and why he's even willing to sacrifice himself, not because he feels like it's clever or anything, but he feels like there's not enough good things going on in the universe, and he feels that even if it's going to spare a few lives, he might as well do something good, and that'd be at least something worthy of burning himself on.
You're talking about his "Who I Am is Where I Stand" speech.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's going to go down as one of the Doctor's epic speeches, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And the Master's response is, "You're looking at a face. Look at this face. This is a face that didn't listen to a word you said."
And at first Missy follows, but she starts to retract that every step that she takes away from him.
Well, you can tell even when he's making the statement, she looks troubled.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It is getting to her. It's just at that point, she's dealing with her own sense of self-preservation versus that. And originally the self-preservation wins out, but then she basically has a conscience attack and wants to go back and stand with the Doctor.
And that makes me wonder if he said, when he said, "Are we really doing this?" if he actually knew her plan and was responding to that, or if he was responding to what it looked like on the surface. Because he may have known himself well enough to know that the only reason she'd be hugging him is to stab him.
Mm-hmm.
Got him good, though. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, favorite scene?
Quick and clean.
The scene where Nardole saves the Doctor by coming to the rescue in the ship, because that ship looked so modelly.
I don't know. It looked like somebody redressed a Star Trek shuttlecraft. It really did.
It very much reminded me of Back to the Future 2 with the DeLorean.
And then the icing on the cake when Bill is holding the ship by the ladder, that just is very exciting.
Yeah, if one Cyberman can hold down that ship, how was it pounding through bulkheads?
Apparently he was using a laser.
Well, the Cybermen can also pound through bulkheads.
Mm-hmm.
Must be very thin bulkheads on
Yeah,
that ship.
Speaking of aluminium foil.
Okay, Aaron, your favorite scene.
My favorite scene was the Doctor's, what I think is the Doctor's other epic speech, is basically quoting the saying from Extremis as he walks down the stairs and about ready to confront the Cybermen and what will almost certainly result in his death.
Mm-hmm. The one when he's talking to himself?
Yeah, it's pretty much he's trying to convince himself without hope, without witness, without reward. And to me, that quote actually made a lot of sense here. It hit home a little bit better than it did in Extremis.
Here's an interesting thought. The contrast between that moment and what Missy saw the Doctor as at the beginning of last episode, the whole glory hound in front of the camera. That was her seeing him as being a show-off, and this is him doing the same thing without witness, without reward.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Thomas, your favorite scene.
Thomas? Are you muted?
Thomas?
He's dropped from... Is he? Never mind. I was looking at the wrong view. But he is muted. There you go.
Okay, phone bloody kept ringing, so I had to actually answer it.
What's your favorite scene?
Okay. Well, one of mine has been taken, so it's a matter of... granted, I do remember being spoiled for choice in this one. So... Honestly, there are two choices left that I have. I'm just going to obviously go with one. And I'm probably going to steal someone from someone who's left, depending. But I'm going to go with the appearance of David Bradley.
Okay, yeah, that was on my list.
Yeah, because that was a genuine oh shit moment, because that had only been, rumored, and I'd completely forgotten.
I would have liked it better.
Since I mentioned.
I would have liked it better if David Bradley wasn't quoting Richard Herndl and not... William Hartnell.
Right.
Yeah, I'm the Doctor, the original, you might say. That's Herndl's line from the Five Doctors.
Which is also a line that they had Capaldi say earlier in the episode as he's
that was why
about to blow them all up.
It's technically a Fourth Doctor line.
And I think he said it in a previous episode too, so.
But yeah, generally it was like after us saying last week that like it was kind of annoying that they spoiled the Master's return. It was nice that even though this was rumored to be a thing at some point this year, that BBC actually held off and didn't actually confirm that this was a thing that was going to happen.
Well, they
So
could
it was
do it
actually
this
a nice
time
surprise.
because he was just going in to do these shots like 2 weeks prior.
Yeah,
to the airtime.
that was part of it. The first photos of him didn't leak until the day before the episode aired.
Something
Day
like
before,
it.
day after, something like that.
No, we'd heard a rumor beforehand.
No,
but,
we'd heard rumors, but we hadn't seen photos until I think it was Friday night.
Okay, so Bill, your favorite scene?
So I'm going to go with a very brief moment, but it was something that made me crack up laughing. Doctors are not required, and I'm not good enough to do the Mondasian Cyberman voice. But
Doctors are not required.
He's like, whatever, I'll beat you. I'm the doctor. Doctors are not required. Bam.
All right, so my favorite scene was, I think, the Master and Missy killing each other. Just that whole bit with them laughing about it, and that kind of that dark, ironic laughter. So I just kind of thought that was cool.
By the way, I totally suspect that Missy's gone, but I doubt the Master is completely dead.
No, well, the Master's dying. He's supposed to go down.
No. I mean, like, I guarantee you, Missy's gonna regenerate.
Okay.
I don't care what the other Master said. I guarantee you, she's gonna regenerate anyway.
Yeah, I can't see them getting rid of the Master.
Yeah, no. I think that's part of why she was laughing. Is like she
already knew
whatever he was saying.
I was prepared for something like this. Thud.
Yeah.
How did you survive? Well, he didn't know that I had protection in my girdle. Okay. Least favorite scene, and let's hurry this up, Matt.
Least favorite scene. I'm going to go with the Doctor being a bit of a crybaby about the whole regeneration thing. It just kind of smacked us wrong.
It's David. Yeah, with the way Moffat said, it's frickin' David Tennant all over again. And
he even quoted David Tennant on that.
Yeah,
that's one of the things he quoted there. Yes,
it should have. If they'd gone the way I thought of it, where he was just, "I'm ready to die," I could have dealt with it. But yeah, the way they worded it, not good. Okay, Tim, your least favorite scene.
I'm gonna pass on this one.
Okay. Aaron.
I didn't like the boner joke between the two masters.
That's awkward and squicky.
And then the fact that he kept referring to her as his sister, it just made it all the more icky. I'm just like, oh, gross. This shouldn't be in Doctor Who.
What's
John
interesting?
Sims is now the incester.
Although what's interesting with the way Moffat's been with the way this Doctor and this season have been written, it would have been almost hilarious if he made a sister reference and then she called him Jamie or something, and as a result to his his advances.
Or better yet, a Cyberman walks into frame. Game of Thrones much. Walk out.
that would have been too much.
I couldn't decide if it was too adult or too juvenile for the show.
That's the problem with Moffat.
All right, Thomas, least favorite scene.
Oh, come on.
We're gonna go into overtime on this one already. I can tell.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, God, I'm pretty sure I had one in mind, but now I'm kind of struggling.
Just skip for now?
Yeah, I'll just pass for now. If I think of one, I'll bring it up.
Okay.
Okay, Bill?
I'm going to go with the scene where Bill reminds the Doctor that she's gay, because either that was out of left field, or that was her trying to say she has a crush on him, which either way doesn't belong there. Neither explanation belongs there.
I agree with that. And she also comes off as kind of ageist when she adds, I only like people my own age.
I mean, it makes sense that somebody in their 20s is generally not going to be attracted to people in their 50s and 60s. That's a general, standard thing. But the fact that the time and the place, she either just said it for no reason to remind us about Heather, or she's trying to low-key say that she has a crush on the Doctor, which way too many companions have experienced.
Yeah, to me it actually came off as like
years.
a sort of trolly kind of reference to the fact that previous companions have, and this was like, haha, I don't.
That doesn't fit the time and place.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite.
And the funny thing is, you have to remember that she was actually saying this as a Mondasian Cyberman. So if you imagine it with that voice, it's also kind of weird.
Oh yeah, I was doing that the entire episode.
Yeah, I was trying to. There are a few lines where it would have been really funny to have it reheard in that voice.
I wonder if Dick Briggs goes to convention, if someone can get him to redo all of Bill's lines in cyber voice. Okay, and I'm gonna pass for time purposes. Final thoughts, Matt.
There's a few little things that I feel are a little hinky here and there. The overall gist of it, though, is that this isn't totally bad, but it is a little weird in spots. The acting, although was really good, and a lot of the character interactions therein with the main 4 or so characters was actually really nicely done.
Okay. Tim?
This was a well-paced episode with some good performances, and the appearance of the first Doctor was a nice surprise for me. So I liked this episode a lot.
Okay, Aaron?
I thought it was pretty well done despite the kind of shortcomings on the budget. Wrapped up a lot of storylines, and also had a great surprise at the end.
Thomas?
Generally, to keep it short, this, compared to the Monks, this was definitely a better multi-part story than that, and that's about all you really need to say.
Okay, Bill?
There were a lot of things in this episode where I'm not sure I liked them doing, but I will say that everything that they did, I liked the way it was done. The execution visually, timing, all of that. Very, very good episode with some drawbacks, so it's very hard to form a following opinion, but I think it's, at the end, positive, all things considered.
All right, so my thoughts is this would have been a perfect episode. It would have been a picture-perfect episode if 80% of it hadn't been derived from previous episodes, previous seasons, etc.
Yeah.
And because of that, it loses some major cred, in my opinion. Just because it's the best episode we've seen Moffat do before. Kind of the way I kind of felt about The Force Awakens, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Only this does it repeatedly, so...
Yes.
All right. So let's get to some ratings here, because we're doing that tonight. Matt?
If it was just going to be the first half, I would have given it a 4.5, maybe even a 5. But after feeling how rehashed and sometimes awkward the second half was, I'm going to be giving it about a 4.5 for sure. It's not 5.
Okay. All right. Tim?
I'll go ahead and give this 5.
Easy to please, Tim. Always there for the 5. Okay. Aaron?
I'm going to go ahead and give this a 4.5 as well.
All right. Thomas?
I'm going to also give it a 4.5.
All right.
Nailed that
Bill?
on the head.
I think if it were just this episode, I'd give it a 4, but taking the entire serial into account, I'm going to say 4.5.
I am going to have to give it a 4 just because of the sheer derivativeness of it.
Just so that you can average it out to a 4.5 between
And
all
won't
of
have
us.
to do math.
There is that, but no, I came into this with a 4.0 in mind because of how derivative it is. Bothers the crap out of me. So with it averaging out to, yes, a 4.5.
So if it was integral, would you give it a 5? Oh, sorry. Math nerd joke.
Making sure. Oh, crap. I missed something when I did the database.
Oh,
Oh.
no.
I forgot to put in the actual ranking. Just a moment. Yeah, not the good night to do that, considering we're a little... Fortunately, this is the last night that it's going to be easy for me to make the mods, because... All right.
While he's doing that, comment below with your thoughts on the episode or the season.
All right. Sorting. C and D. And with a 4.5, this puts this up at the top at number 27.
Ooh.
Out of now 205 things reviewed. It is just above Class, the Metaphysical Engine, or What Quill Did, aka the really good episode of Class.
The one good episode.
It's on par with Thin Ice, the Rebos Operation, the Invasion, Spare Parts, oddly enough, New Earth, the Thousand Worlds, Heart of Battle, Enlightenment, the Zygon Invasion, the Zygon Inversion, and it is just below the Seeds of Death. So number 27, that's where we stand for, what was the first episode called?
Loved Enough in Time.
World Enough in Time and the Dr. I hate the name of that episode. I know it's a quote. I just hate the name of it.
Yeah, it's a stupid, horrible name for an episode. I called it last time, and I still refer to it.
Okay, so take us out, Bill.
All right. So if you'd like listening to us or you like the video, please go ahead and give us a like if you're on YouTube so we know how you feel. Comment your thoughts on both the episode and this podcast below. And you don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube and Twitch to get our next episodes. Doctor Who season is over, but ours is definitely not. If you want to support us, you can also head on over to patreon.com/unearthlypodcast.
All right, and on next week's show, on that note, with Series 10 over and done, we go back and take a look at one of the classic serials, one that started a whole Big Finish franchise. We're going back to Victorian England to meet up with Jago and Lightfoot for the first time. It's The Talons of Wang Chiang, written by Robert Holmes and starring Tom Baker as the Doctor, Louise Jameson as Leela, Christopher Benjamin as Henry Gordon Jago, and Trevor Baxter as Professor Lightfoot.
We'll finally have time.
Which means we can't start watching this episode an hour before the podcast, as I know has occasionally happened with recent ones.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone needs to start watching it as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's a bit of a long one, isn't it?
It's either a 4 or a 6.
It's got to be at least a 4. So, all right, and also a reminder to everyone listening that you can also show up for the Unearthly Podcast live, as Fexi is still in our audience. Thank you for joining us, Fexi.
Thank you.
And we'll see you all next time.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
Ta-ta.